The World War II era submarine USS Cobia is an icon of the Northeast Wisconsin lakeshore. She has been here in Manitowoc since 1970 and is essentially the whole reason the Wisconsin Maritime Museum next door sits where it does. In fact, the museum was originally founded as the Manitowoc Submarine Memorial Association. And over the years, both the museum and the Cobia have gone through some amazing changes. Obviously, there's now the incredible modern museum building that she sits moored next to. And in 1996, the Cobia itself was dry docked for the first time since she left service. That visit to dry dock was a near complete overhaul, restoring her back to her World War II configuration, both inside and out. But since then, she sat in the water here at the mouth of the Manitowoc River. For nearly 30 years, the museum did everything it could to maintain her fit and finish. But at a certain point, a vessel this old needs to come out of the water and back into dry dock for some TLC. And that brings us to 2025. A project many years, many people, and yes, a lot of money in the making. This is a deep dive into the USS Cobia and the restoration of a legend. If the steel hull of the USS Cobia could talk, it would have quite a tale to tell. She has 13 sunken ships to her name in the Pacific theater of World War II. That also means she's no spring chicken. It's been 82 years since her beam was laid, 55 since she arrived in Manitowoc, and now nearly 30 since her last dry dock restoration.
Any naval vessel really should be dry docked, in 20 years. It's kind of that, long range. So we were pushing that.
The Cobia's topside might look good, but below the waterline, it's a different story. 30 years of grime, algae, and mussels have accumulated on her hull, not to mention any issues that might be discovered underneath it all. Wisconsin Maritime Museum Director Kevin Cullen says, despite being overdue for a dry dock, the Cobia is lucky to be right where it is.
The fortunate part of why we're actually at that almost 30-year mark is that we're in fresh water. Now, a lot of the submarines, a lot of the naval vessels from World War II are in salt water, so that has a much more harsh conditions on the steel hull.
Weather permitting, the Cobia will be towed 55 nautical miles north to Fincantieri Bay Shipbuilding in Sturgeon Bay on September 4th. For the next 6 weeks, a team of experts will clean, inspect, replate, and repaint the historic landmark. And submarine curator Karen Duvall says those are just the knowns. It's possible there are plenty of unknowns to be found and addressed.
Submarines are complex, so there's free flood areas so that when the submarine is diving and they're underwater, they don't have pockets of air. So a lot of those free flood spaces below the waterline we can't see unless we're on the dry dock and open things up.
It's not going to be cheap, but the museum is getting some help. Through a federal grant, $500,000 that the museum raised is going to be matched. And just this year, the state of Wisconsin budgeted another $500,000 to make up the rest. $1.5 million in total. But she's worth every penny for the lakeshore. The USS Cobia is obviously a huge attraction for the Wisconsin Maritime Museum. In 2024 alone, she welcomed about 40,000 visitors just over the course of that year. But for the veterans and for the volunteers that work with the museum, she means a little bit more to them than just an exhibit.
It's not a toy. It's not a playground. It's a historic artifact, and it needs to be treated as such.
Mark Becker is a Navy veteran and former submariner. He didn't serve on the Cobia. His service came on the next generation of submarines in the 60s. But he says there's one certain aspect that seems to transcend each generation of vessel.
As soon as they opened that hatch up forward and we'd go down that ladder, I told my wife I wish they could bottle that. It's a smell all unto its own. Sure. It's a great life. It's a great life, and I miss it. I miss it every day.
For others, the Cobia isn't a reminder of service, it's an inspiration to serve.
To me, this feels like home.
Camden Craig started working at the museum in high school as a tour guide, but when the time came to decide what he wanted to do after, the Navy submarine service just felt right.
It was always calming coming here, right? Like I never woke up and was like, oh, I got to go to work. I always enjoyed coming here and telling the stories. So to me, it's like the beginning point from me joining the submarine service. It's like a starting ground.
The Cobia will be missed for the 6 weeks she's away in Sturgeon Bay, but the community closest to her knows that when she's back, she'll be better than ever. As with any project of this size and scope, it's rare that everything goes according to plan, and such was the case with the Cobia's planned departure date. Originally scheduled for Thursday, September 4th, strong winds and a high swell in Lake Michigan pushed her departure back to Sunday, September 7th, and Fox 11's Savannah Wood was there to capture the moment.
A historic submarine has finally set sail for much-needed maintenance.
It's been 29 years since actually Cobia has left here, so this is a huge day for us. It's been a decade in the making, really.
Sunday morning, the USS Cobia began its 55 nautical mile tow to Sturgeon Bay. There, the World War II submarine will be cleaned, inspected, replated, and repainted in dry dock.
All the dirt and grime and moss that sits on it gets repaired and scrubbed, and so that there's no damage to it, and it can sit here for another 30 years before it needs to be back in dry dock again. So last time was 1996, and I was here for that as well.
You get a chance to watch movies and military movies, and there's nothing left of them anymore publicly showing. But we got history to my kids, my grandkids, and kids beyond that can see and enjoy the boat like this, what we got. It's a treasure. How many of them are actually around anymore?
Thursday's strong winds delayed the submarine's journey.
I'm glad it happened on a Sunday. Saturday would have been better, but Sunday it's good because people had to work. And they're going, where are we going to see it? They got to watch it on video or whatever. Now they got to see it live.
Crews got the submarine ready for departure with 2 tugboats attached. Just before 8 o'clock, the USS Cobia left the dock, heading north up Lake Michigan. The trip is expected to take 10 hours.
And this kind of becomes part of you, like part of the family's missing now. Like we have nothing here. It's empty. It's like boring. It's like we got to get that thing back here as fast as we can. Like turn around, come back now, and we'll be okay.
I'm there driving over the 8th Street Bridge, and now until it comes back home in October, it just feels like something's missing here in Manitowoc.
We'll have another party when it comes back in. Everybody will be here. Probably not as many when it comes back in, but then again, maybe you'll come out here and watch it come back in. Who knows? And I'll be here. I'll be here.
Maintenance should last about 6 weeks. In Manitowoc, Savannah Wood, Fox 11 News.
It was expected that it would take about 10 hours to tow the Cobia up to Sturgeon Bay, and we planned on being there waiting for her, cameras in hand. Well, she made the trip in just about 8 hours and beat us there, and that would not be the last surprise that the Cobia would have in store for us or those working on her. The hard work was just about to begin, and we'll take you there next. For as much work as the Wisconsin Maritime Museum does to take care of the Cobia as she sits here in the water, they can only do so much, and that is where the experts at Fincantieri Bay Shipbuilding in Sturgeon Bay work their magic. As they got underway at Bay Ship, I had the incredible opportunity to see her in dry dock and to actually stand beneath her, and it's something I will never forget, and I hope you won't either. 1,625 tons of World War II steel perched on blocks, sitting in dry dock at Fincantieri Bay Shipbuilding in Sturgeon Bay. It's been nearly 30 years since the USS Cobia was last in dry dock for maintenance, a decade past the recommended interval. Because of that, Bay Ship project manager Kevin Lauder says the engineers worried about what they'd find, but the Cobia surprised them all.
The hull is, seems to be in immaculate condition, to be honest. We were honestly expecting to see much more corrosion, much more growth.
Really?
Yeah, and I think just being in fresh water has so much to do with that.
The only thing that didn't go to plan so far was a torpedo door falling off during transit from Manitowoc to Sturgeon Bay. But it's already been recovered. Once she was lifted up out of the water, about 3 tons of algae, mussels, and other gunk were sandblasted off her hull before getting a fresh prime, paint, and seal.
But the thing is, you can't paint in the areas that are sitting on the supports. So what they're going to have to do is they actually have to refloat it, move it a few feet, and then paint the spots that were sitting on those supports.
Bay Ship Vice President Jeff Frank says this project has been a long time coming, and they take great pride in it.
Shipbuilding is an absolute core of our existence. So that was always in the back of our mind, and that's what really excited us about having the Cobia here.
Bay Ship has been working closely with the Wisconsin Maritime Museum every step of the way. Submarine curator Karen Duvall says Bay Ship has been giving this historic landmark the care she deserves.
This is unique for everyone. This is different, and even for us. You know, we'll come across a problem and like, well, how are we going to tackle this problem? And, you know, discuss it, and they're really good about that, and we've come up with a compromise. So they've been really respectful. They get that it's important.
While the Cobia was built as a mere instrument of war, she's become much more than that to the communities that surround her now. And with this work, she'll continue to float on in those communities for years to come. Part of the reason why the Cobia is more than just a submarine to northeast Wisconsin is our proud shipbuilding heritage. While active operations have shrunk and condensed over the decades, lakeshore communities like Manitowoc and Sturgeon Bay and Marinette are full of generations of families who have worked in and around shipyards. So when something like the USS Cobia shows up in your backyard, you better believe Sturgeon Bay was buzzing. You don't have to look very far in many of northeast Wisconsin's lakeshore communities to find signs of our area's rich maritime heritage. In Sturgeon Bay, perhaps the most iconic is Bay Shipbuilding, now owned by Fincantieri. And as the local historic landmark USS Cobia sits there in dry dock for repairs, ship repair manager Kevin Lauder is well aware of that heritage and his own.
I'm just over 20 years. My grandfather worked here, my father worked here, both my brothers work here. So, yeah, it's definitely been, handed down through the generations. But yeah, this is the first for me though.
It's not just a first for Lauder, but a first for Sturgeon Bay. The Cobia's arrival sparked a buzz among locals. These are people who, even if they aren't involved in the industry themselves, have shipbuilders littering their family trees. People like Novel Bay Booksellers owner Liz Welter, who says all of her neighbors made time to see the Cobia's arrival.
It was exciting to be able to see it moving through the water, and just how big it looked, and it was to get a different perspective of it too.
Unfortunately for the locals around here, it's a little tough to see the USS Cobia as it sits in dry dock, but that's not exactly stopping people from giving it their best shot anyway.
Some of my friends in my neighborhood have gone to the other side of the bay with their binoculars, and some with really big binoculars, to try to see it.
The nearby Door County Maritime Museum frequently works with the Wisconsin Maritime Museum and is well aware of the Cobia's presence. Deputy Director and Development Manager Sam Perlman says they've been abuzz as well.
Very active conversations amongst the museum volunteers, the museum staff, museum membership. That's one of the themes that we like to share in our museum, that this peninsula, this area has had a global impact for generations, really for hundreds of years.
While not the most visible vessel that's ever stayed in Sturgeon Bay's shipyards, the Cobia's visit may still be one of the best remembered. It's yet another testament to the awe and curiosity she sparks, no matter where she sails. I mentioned earlier that the Cobia had a couple of surprises in store for Bay Shipbuilding over the course of her dry docking, and I'll show you what caught them off guard coming up next. The Cobia was inspected inside and out while she was in dry dock, but even then, she still provided a couple surprises after her initial cleaning and painting. One of the ballast tanks, welded shut after her years in active duty since she no longer needed to dive, had reopened along a seam and filled with water in the 30 years that she sat in the Manitowoc River. But the workers couldn't see it at first because that seam sat right on top of one of the support blocks while she was in dry dock. They only noticed it once they moved her a few feet forward to clean and paint the covered areas. Now that it's been resealed, she actually sits noticeably higher up in the water. Where I noticed it was right here at the bow. You see those openings in the hull there? They actually used to sit right down at about the waterline, partially submerged, and now they're fully dry and up out of the water. And with their work complete in dry dock, all that was left was to get her back home. About 5.5 weeks after she arrived, the USS Cobia departed Fincantieri Bay Shipbuilding in Sturgeon Bay early Wednesday morning. Her fresh paint in some spots was still in the process of setting, but after a quick wipe down and touch up following some overnight rain, it was full steam ahead. and she's been missed in her home port.
This is a huge relief for the entire museum staff and volunteers, and indeed the community, to know that we've got to the finish line. Almost. We still have to get her down to Manitowoc, but this is a tremendous relief for all of us.
Kevin Cullen is the Wisconsin Maritime Museum director, where the Cobia normally resides. His view from the lead tug giving him the perfect vantage point for the Cobia's new paint job. While it might appear unfinished and uneven, this is the true-to-spec scheme as she would have looked for combat missions in World War II.
Partly the reason for that was, it was to basically be camouflaged out on the water. So there's kind of that shallow line. It almost looks like it's not even a straight line across the deck there. That is on purpose too, and that was to sort of look at, if you were looking at a vessel on the horizon, it would almost appear like it wasn't there. There's a mirage.
And the 245 on the side, that's also new. It's the Cobia's original hull number. Bay Ship project manager Kevin Lauder has mixed feelings about the Cobia's departure. They're proud of their work, but know that she is one of a kind.
Bittersweet. I mean, everybody, it was exciting to have it here. It was exciting to work on it, and it's exciting to see it go, because, you've done it, but now you don't have the opportunity to see it every day.
The American flag wasn't the only thing flying proud on the Cobia's tower. At the top, a broom sticking up into the air. Naval tradition to indicate the work was a clean sweep and that she's all set for her voyage back out onto Lake Michigan and back to Manitowoc. While the work may have been a clean sweep, the Cobia still needed to, actually make it back home successfully. And we'll take you to the moments that she returned back to Manitowoc after the break. The USS Cobia is back home. Though her departure from Sturgeon Bay early on the morning of October 15th was a relatively subdued affair, her arrival back home was anything but. Hundreds of people, perhaps more, lined the harbor and river in Manitowoc to watch the Cobia take her place back at the Wisconsin Maritime Museum. Museum director Kevin Cullen says her absence was a conspicuous one for those nearly 6 weeks.
I mean, when you look out the window, this building, this whole museum was designed around the submarine, and so to see it gone through the windows, it was just this loss for all of us. So that identity is back.
Back and better than ever. For locals, veterans, and volunteers, it was a special sight, and especially so for retired Rear Admiral Jerry Clusen, who happens to fall into all three of those categories.
I'm from Manitowoc. I was here in 1970, graduated high school when the Cobia was brought in. I was an amateur radio operator, got interested in electronics, and I met a lot of veterans, submarine veterans, who worked to get the submarine here.
And after a decorated career in the Navy, the Cobia was still here waiting for him at home.
When I retired, I came back and, served on the board here with the museum and been a member, and, it's just another passion.
Clusen was among the crowds watching from the museum side of the river. Others took it in from across the river over a round of drinks. But Kevin Cullen may have had the best view of all on the lead tug for the whole voyage. Starting before sunrise in Sturgeon Bay, it was a long day, but one he'll never forget.
People were up and down the banks of the canal all the way out to the breakwater lighthouse, and even along the shoreline as we were coming out. We went way out, so we were a good several miles offshore, but my goodness, what a beautiful day. We couldn't have asked for it. We had following seas the entire way, and of course, being on the lead tug, we even had breakfast. We had bacon served. Couldn't get better than that.
Tours won't be starting back up immediately, They still need to lock the Cobia's mooring lines in place and position her just right for the gangway that visitors use to board. Thankfully, these finishing touches shouldn't take more than a few days, and the museum is already looking even further into the future. Cullen says they want to start planning her next dry dock as soon as possible, so she doesn't go another 30 years without one. The Wisconsin Maritime Museum was indeed able to open her back up to the public that first weekend, and Cullen says attendance tripled as compared to the weekend before. The Cobia has an undeniable pull and is a vital part of both the museum and Manitowoc. And for as much time as we've just spent talking about the Cobia, this barely scratches the surface of the lore that surrounds her. The people who served on her, the volunteers who have poured countless hours into her preservation, the staff who work tirelessly and meticulously to curate the exhibits, and the people in the community that surround her all have their own stories to tell. The Cobia is a physical piece of American history, of world history, from a time that precious little remains that we can still see and touch and experience. And I urge you to come and visit and experience it yourself and to take advantage of this incredible artifact right here on our lakeshore. It's up to all of us to make sure that her stories are heard and shared for generations to come. I'm Phil DeCastro. Thank you for watching USS Cobia, Restoring a Legend, a Fox 11 News special.